When you look at the percentage of blacks in the population, blacks are committing far more crime against whites than the other way around, way more. Look at polling data, anti-Semitism. The good news is that in America, anti-Semitism is at an all-time low. However, in the black community, the anti-Semitic rate is almost 3 times higher than in the non-black community.
I don't want to be down this list. I still think that does a disservice to the facts. If most crimes committed against whites are committed by whites, most crimes committed against blacks are committed by blacks, I think you're doing a disservice when you're not representing. It's intellectual dishonesty.
Almost half of the victims of black crime are, in fact, white people. Almost half. The victims of white crime almost are very rarely black people. It just isn't true. When you look at black-white crime, black are committing a lot more crime against whites than the other way around, even when you adjust for the percentage of the population.
Dr. King said all the time, as you well know, King's definition, who is an expert, obviously, on violence. Dr. King, who I think we all both respect here, King's argument was that racism, his definition was this: racism equals prejudice plus power. Racism is defined as prejudice plus power.
Ridiculous.
You didn't buy that argument? You didn't buy that definition? Because the point is, if racism equals prejudice plus power, black folk who are powerless by and large, who can be prejudiced but don't have the power to be racist.
That is one of the most idiotic things I've ever heard.
Calling King an idiot?
When Reginald Denny...
Are you calling King an idiot?
When Reginald Denny was on the ground and Damian Football Williams had a brick in his hand and was trying to kill him, did Reginald Denny face somebody who had power? I think so. What an absurd thing to say. You don't have power, therefore you can't be a bigot. When State Senator Diane Watson blasted Warren Carterly, the black man who championed the cause of eliminating affirmative action, she said to him, because he's married to a white woman, let me tell you something. The reason you're supporting the abolition of affirmative action is because you have no ethnic pride. You're married to a white woman. You want to be white. Now, was she racist because she didn't have power? Was she not racist because she didn't have power? It doesn't make any sense. Black people can be racist. It doesn't matter whether you have power or whether you don't have power. And the fact is, black people are doing all sorts of hideous things to whites, when if it happened the other way around, we'd be yelling and screaming.
The point, I don't know that you ever understand, or not you, but black conservatives also do not understand. When you sit on a national television show and your entire diatribe, the entire talk show, you pontificate ad nauseum about the black crisis, about the black struggle. I ain't heard you say nothing yet challenging about white people, and that's what most folks get from you every day on radio.
That's my second chapter, Tavis. We haven't gotten to it. My second chapter has to do with white condescension.
Right.
And the point behind my whole book, Tavis, the first 2 chapters, is not that the majority of blacks are racist. They're not. Nor that the majority of whites are racist.
Okay.
They're not.
All right.
But to the extent that there is racism in the country, there's a great deal of racism coming out of the black community. When Jesse Jackson refers to Jews as Jaime and New York as Jaime Town, when Spike Lee says he doesn't like interracial couples and when he sees one he gives them visual daggers, when Al Sharpton refers to Jews as diamond merchants, we got a problem here.
The majority of what you hear, and I've listened to your show for many, many years in LA, we used to work together. The majority of what you hear, more often than not, is Larry and others being more challenging of black folk than white folk. Do you at least see that and then understand how black folk then have an issue with Larry Elder?
This obsession with racism diverts time, effort, and energy from real problems. And the biggest problem facing the black community, Tavis, is not racism. The biggest problem is children having children, and that is a product of the welfare state. Secondly, the problem of DWB, driving while black, is largely a function of the war on drugs. That's the reason there are so many interactions between blacks and the cops. We should call off the war on drugs. Blacks will benefit more than anybody else through the privatization of Social Security, something that Jesse Jackson and the Democratic Party oppose. So yes, I'm getting on some of these black leaders because I think they're doing a net disservice and taking time and energy away from problems that can be solved if we tone down the racism rhetoric.
All right, number 4, the glass ceiling full of holes. Give me a quick discourse on that, right quick.
Well, President Clinton gave a speech once, Tavis, and he said that women earn 75 cents on the dollar for identical work performed by men. To give you an idea of how stupid that is, let's suppose you have a factory and you got 500 men. I come up as a headhunter and I present you 500 women who can do exactly the same work, exactly as well, but you can pay me 75 cents on the dollar? You're telling me guys wouldn't fire all the men and hire all women and look at women all day instead of guys? It doesn't make any sense. It is intellectually insulting to suggest that men are doing exactly the same work as women. Women are ready to do the same work as men, but they're ready to be paid less, but guys aren't hiring them. It makes no sense at all.
Are you suggesting, though, that there is not this issue of, there is not a lack of pay equity between men and women? You're not suggesting that,
I am. Look at apples to apples. A woman that graduated from school A, guy graduated from school A. They finished the same level. They went to work for the same company. The woman did not take time out to have children. When you look at apples to apples, there's virtually no difference in their pay.